variable resistor. If I can get focus on it. It's very difficult. It's 3 legs. There we go. Just checking it on the multimeter. So this is going to go on one of the whether it be input output of one of the surround channels that I'm running here, specific type of special surround, kind of, you know, the original sort of thing, the original surround. And I was just on my SDDS level meters, it's just showing, indicating with one of the auxiliary inputs of the one. I'm not sure whether it's the output or the input. It's probably the input, I guess, of the because one signal is okay going out into the other side surrounds. It's just when it's going to the other ones for the back, which is nothing to do with rear back surround. That's on a totally different auxiliary. That's on auxiliary 1. Auxiliary 2 I'm using for you know. So I just figured, okay, it's been a bit of a bother, you know, for a while, so I think, stuff it, I'll just solder one of these onto one of the input terminals on the DB25 for the wiring, and then I'll adjust the variable until I've got equal voltage level, or equal, don't have to be equal voltage, as long as I've got equal, as long as the sine wave appears on the display equally. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. As long as I've got equal balance, then it's okay. And of course, check it just tinily with, you know, by adjusting fader. I've got to adjust fader up and down until both VU meters go down and up at the same time, because I've got about roughly 5 dB. Either 5 dB is too strong going in one channel, or there's 5 dB too less. Either way, it's about a 5 dB tolerance, which I'm kind of like, I'm really baffled as to why 5 dB, because it's okay on auxiliary 1, but that's going from the AVR pink noise or sine wave output from the REM, and from the AVR signals are still coming from the AVR going into the SDDS Sony's. But yeah, it's just baffling me. But then all audio equipment does have slight, tiny fraction variables that, you know, that are like half a dB or so out of, you know, like out of balance, so to speak. But all you need to correct your input levels going to your amplifiers, all you need to go from your amplifiers, my head torch, is one of these, you know, doesn't have to be this variable resistor, there's so many variable resistors, as well as impedance ohmage as well. As long as you've got something like that attached onto the outputs of the audio equipment, you know, and then see, I'll just show. So generate 1 kilohertz. That's on auxiliary 1. So main fader here up here is controlled all the other outputs for height 1, 2, 3. They're just going out through onto the SA10s. The heights 1 and 3 used to go onto here, onto these channels up here, but I kind of disconnected that recently. So what I'll do is this is the level for the back surround. Turn the fader up and down. Levels go equal. But they're going in steps of, typically on most AVRs, this is going in steps of 0.5 dB steps. And then of course, take the level up a little bit, up to 0, that's neither here or there. And then adjust the fader on the SGDS. This I can just about tolerate here, but I would rather like to kind of, you know, adjust it. Take a while until it counts. That's okay there. Okay. Let's go up a little bit. Yeah, the levels are going up equally. They're going up equally. I thought they were about 0.4 or 5. Let's just increase the SBR, increase the output a little bit. No, I don't know. They appear okay, unless there's some gremlins. They're called electronic gremlins, so only most people are familiar with that. Levels up there on the surrounds, because these are the regular surrounds output for the sidewall, for discrete, or I can use that along with going to auxiliary number 1. That's alright, auxiliary number 2. But here, the levels are out. And of course this fader here will adjust like so. And if I go back to there, level goes up, because auxiliary 1 there is going over to auxiliary 2. And go back to auxiliary, you know, so it doesn't have any control. It's done that way. It's purposely done that way, intentionally, for the purpose. Okay, so having a bit of an anxiety attack at the moment, so it just came on about 40 minutes ago. So let's just see. So get levels checked there. If I go up to and just adjust the trim on the left surround, I'll just take it down by 5 dB. Because it's still, it's on the wrong one there. There we go. Yeah, it's just a fraction. Just a little fraction out on that side. It's just a little fraction out on that side now. Let's take it up 4.5. Just a small variable there. So adjusting the level down. Watch the left. And it goes equal, but that doesn't mean that's so, because that right is still a little bit too low. Because the levels have got to go up and down at the same time. There's no point going into the SGDS and adjusting the output level trim for the left surround. Otherwise, then if I go over to there, it'll be out of balance. It would have been ideal if they would have put individual leveling for each auxiliary 1 and 2 inputs. There is a variable trim level for here. That's for auxiliary 1, and got auxiliary 2. And it's set a little bit high because I've got to compensate for other variable levels such. So it's a little bit tricky. So hopefully, well, not hopefully. So this little variable resistor should solve that and get things equally balanced. So if you got equipment, you know, like all these fancy AVRs, whatever, AVPs, whatever, have you even bothered to check on test equipment, which is, you know, everyone's got a REM, but not everyone's got, you know, you got to, let me see, I mean, you got a basic input level, you got an output, and you got an input, and you got a ref, but, you know, it's probably a lot easier to not just use that. It's probably a lot easier to simply use the RTA and send the outputs individually, one by one, because you know, it's not like a THX sound system where it's got all the inputs that can go in, and then I can just go through my cipher buttons, and I can just check all the levels and get them all level matched. That's for electronically, that is. Acoustically, how they come out from the speakers through to the screen to the microphones, that's a total different ball game entirely. That's another level of calibrating. But as long as you check the all the others, you know, everything else, and you know everything's okay, spot on. But if it's out by variables of, you know, and you think, shouldn't these be spot on? You know, so you just use a sine wave. I can't use the sine wave at the moment because this signal's going out onto the what's it? Because I have to output it, not from there. Yeah, that's the size surrounds on, so I have to. Yeah. Okay. So that's my amp return signal. So that monitors the amplifier signal. That monitors the processor signal. So that's going from the processors. And then that's coming from amplifiers, and then going back into the THX return, like amp return, like Return of the Jedi. So I'll just keep it on processor. Doesn't matter if I look at left or right surround. I did check them, I think it was about a week or so ago, and they're about level matched. And there's my signal. So it's going from, so if I mute it, signal goes down. Unmute, signal goes up. It's a bit of a, on an average, slow delay. And mute should go down a bit quicker. So I put none, and then so I get a bit quicker on check testing, depending on what test calibration adjustments procedures that have been done. I can see a slight modulation in the signal. It's kind of like amplitude, or yeah, it's kind of moving a slight little bit, but it's holding the line sort of thing. So, you know, I will check your signal outputs from your equipment, you know, a lead. So have another type of specific lead. You could probably use a Y lead, so you could still monitor the sound going out into the room, and use a Y lead on the RCA, and then connect that, and then connect that then to the computer. So you need an RCA phono, or not an RCA, you know, the Y lead type, because they either get females inputs or male ones. So you got to get the right adapter, okay, and with a 3.5 millimeter. So you connect it into the back of the headphone, the headphone mic input on the computer, and then you should get a signal reading, and then you can then test through each left, center, right, making sure you got all the EQs switched off, okay, and go through the left, center, right, left surround, right surround, left rear back, right rear back, height 1, left to right, height 2, left to right, height 3, left to right. And you can then use a sub bass signal, making sure you got the AVR, if you're using a specific AVR, making sure that you got it set to that mode. Otherwise no signal will go through, and the signal will only go through, and you can't test any other speaker mode on it, because when it's in the multi-stereo mode, it only is taking signal from the left and right, so it's not going to give a signal back from overhead 1 or 2, whatever. And then after you've done all the, you've got to use low frequency sine wave tones, and after you've done all that, make sure you switch that bloody thing off, because the LFE should only play the LFE. All the bass reproduction should be faithfully reproduced, if you're using cinema speakers, that is, should faithfully be reproduced through the screen speakers through to the surrounds. And the LFE is only a filtered thing. It's usually typically with a roll off going up and then going down. It's usually bandwidth is about 5 Hz to about 120 Hz. So, but anyway, you could check the bass levels of the LFE versus one of the left, center, right, because the levels should be equal. Levels should be on the playback. You should be within a tight dB tolerance of, I believe it's 2 dB. So, you got to watch the FCL meter, have something like, I'll just make the goddamn sine wave. Like, there's my LFE for the 2 subs up there. There's also individual EQ and trim levels adjustments on left and right sub there. I'm going to do the same for the other TCBs, but I'm only using a single output at the moment, with a XLR going out to the amplifier with a XLR Y lead connected on. So I'm going to put 2 dual XLR leads on that, but that one there, that's for my subs for the TCBs behind the screen, and one at the back of the room, and they are pretty good subs. They are pretty good JBLs. And this one here, that's from my bass shakers. So it's a bit like a Starship Enterprise. I am listening to the hailing frequency on screen. Dun, 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 dun. Oh no, it's Klingons. Yeah, it's a bit like a Starship Enterprise. It's a bit like a Hura's communications console. And the science station is over there, the REM. That's the science station. Needs the science officer with the tricorder. Wee, 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 wee. Look at that. And this is a very, like I say, This is very indispensable for audio testing. You wouldn't believe, I think I've done videos, but you just wouldn't believe how much this equipment is generating signal noise, and the filtering that's got to be inside all this equipment to try and reduce some of that EMI and EMI. I mean, look at the denim. Bloody hell, that gets a headless panther, that does, for that bloody noise. But listen to the Sony. Same signal noise. What about the CP750? Oh my goodness gracious. Bloody hell. Sounds like lightsaber. Force be with you. The DCX. This is where you get new sound effects from, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure if sound editors use this, but this is where you get new sound effects from. Cool, isn't it? Yeah. Maybe I could go into a bloody showroom with one of these and test all the OLEDs. Look at that. Bloody hell, never heard anything like it. But then you put that on a CRT, yeah, that's going to make a heck of a ruckus. And if I put it against the mobile phone, even though you can't see it, I put it near the screen. There's two signal noises, one going and a some sort of clocking sort of signal, some sort of clocking noise, I think. It's almost musical. I could probably spend some time with this, but I'm not interested. I'm not interested in getting an audio mixer for a computer and then doing sound mixing effects. I'm not interested in that. And I had an interest in it 20 years ago, but I'm not interested in it anymore. No desire. But doesn't mean I'm not interested in it. Just no desire. What about my cat there? Oh, he's pretty quiet actually, so that's not bad. So that's it. Got to put a variable, do some soldering, connect that variable, and yeah, do some alignment.